My name is Christian Basel. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a Tardis. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With web show, this is the legend of the traveling TARDIS. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend. Hello, fellow Whovians. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. My name is Christian Basel. I'm glad you could join us here on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show, wherever you're listening to us, on Krypton Radio, on iHeartRadio, on Apple Podcasts. Please, also, if you're watching us on the YouTube channel, make sure not only to subscribe, but to hit that notification bell. You want all, just in case we do something a little funky, anytime this drops, so you can check up with us every single week on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show. Today we are going to be reviewing, and I can never pronounce it to save my life, so I'm going to try it anyway, Doctor Who, The Haunting of Villa Diodati. Diodati. I think I got it right. Anybody wants to challenge me? Close enough. Close enough for jazz there. But I don't do my reviews alone. I got a bunch of friends that are going to be helping me out here. Off screen right now, we have Mr. James Enstall. He is with, tell everybody what you're with there, James.
Sure, yeah, Geek to Me Radio. It's a live radio show based here in St. Louis and streaming online. You can find it also on iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, iTunes, Podomatic, and wherever you find your podcasts.
Got it there. So please follow Geek to Me Radio there. You can also follow him on the Twitter feed. Also, we have Mark Muncy of Erie, Florida, the Erie, Florida series. How you doing there, Mark?
Fantastic. Good to be back.
You too. And again, returning with us is Dr. Freedom himself, Mr. Brian Burress. How you doing there, Brian?
Oh, hanging in there. How's everybody out there doing tonight?
Oh, surviving. And we've got some good news. We're going to be, Brian's going to be doing the Who Knew News in just a few moments, but I do want to add something. You know what, Brian, go ahead. Go ahead and take it away. Go ahead and start with the Who Knew News today.
At the top of the news, according to Radio Times, Doctor Who Series 13 is going to begin filming sometime in autumn 2020. Now, this comes from Gallifrey 1, where producer Tracy Simpson suggested that shooting would start on Series 13 in September. Now, from what I've heard, they're aiming for sometime in autumn of 2021 for Series 13 to air. But I'm waiting for more data on that to confirm. So that's what, according to the Radio Times.
So you think that's a little late in the year, guys? Do you think they should be starting a little bit earlier? I mean, they just seem almost like they're taking another year off.
I know. They got to start getting consistent, or otherwise, as I said the other night, it's you might as well just put that as the epitaph for if this show does finally go under. It's the fact they don't deliver on time, consistently anymore. Come on, years off, one series. Well, we're going to have it in spring. We're going to have it in autumn. It's like, sheesh, come on.
Yeah. Now, James, I'm just taking this on the side note because I want you to talk about it a little bit, but Gallifrey 1 and who was there, hint, hint, who, and I know you guys had a great time. I saw the photo out there. James, tell us a little bit about Galley 1 and your experience out there.
This was my very first Gallifrey 1. I had not been attending before, and I was a little unsure what to make of it, but I could not have been more pleased. It was efficiently run. The guests were all fantastic, and all of them seemed pleased to be there. Chris Eccleston in his panel, he even said, don't tell anybody else this because I'll probably get in trouble, but this has been my favorite convention ever. So even the doctors like it.
Can you think about it? You may say that at every convention.
That's why I was kind of wondering. Like, I bet you say it to all the cons, don't you, Chris?
Speaking of which, and I'm going to add this in the Who Knew News later on, but we do have an announcement here for those folks who are listening to us in the Central Florida area. Speaking of Doctor Who and the Ninth Doctor, but Brian, let's go ahead and continue on with the Who Knew News. I'll make that the last thing.
Okay, next up, we have Build-A-Bear is apparently doing a whole series of custom teddy bears with a Doctor Who theme. You can get a teddy bear that looks like the 13th Doctor in the 13th Doctor's garb. They got a 10th Doctor here. They've got, just a cute little TARDIS bear with Doctor Who on its foot and all this other nifty stuff. So if you're interested in that, be sure to go visit over at buildabear.co.uk.
I'll only be happy if it has 2 sewn-in hearts. It's Keystone and Hearts.
Nice.
The scary part is the Doctor Who theme one has two little hearts on its upper chest.
Oh.
Okay, the question will be, is it inside, though? That's the key.
No, not real ones. That would be too
Build-A-Bears.
graphic for children. Come on.
The
We
bigger
don't
on
want
the
to shock
inside.
them.
You know,
Well,
the only bad thing about this, I think, is that this should have been a little bit more before Valentine's Day. I think this would have been a nice Valentine's Day gift for your fellow Whovian out there who likes Doctor Who and likes bears in the Build-A-Bear section, but that's just me. Anyway, Brian, what else we got in the Who Knew News?
Okay, next up, Tom Baker is returning as the curator for Big
Yes.
Finish Audios. And this will be in the new Stranded box set coming out, where the Eighth Doctor finds himself trapped on Earth with lots of familiar faces otherwise, like they got Patrolman Andy there from Torchwood, amongst others. So this could be really interesting to see how the curator that we've met all the way back in Day of the Doctor is going to somehow interact with the Eighth Doctor now. So I'm really looking forward to hearing how that turns out.
Gotcha. Are you guys excited? I really am excited to hear about that. And especially, I think part of the news that we have here is also a big finish with River Song and Captain Jack, which I will pay full price to listen to those two. And Nick Briggs writing, and probably for just innuendo's sake, just spouting at each other for the convention. But yeah, Tom Baker back as the curator. That seems to be the continuity bomb that won't explode. It's just like, was he a future incarnation of the Doctor? Does he have anything to do with the Doctor? He was just popping in there. Do you guys have any idea what the curator is to the Doctor?
I mean, well, they
I
were
don't
playing
know.
it like
I-
he was a future, and that he was,
I
and he
heard
would
that.
visit a famous face and all that, and the whole. I really think you might, So I'm just, I'm good. I'm sold. Anything Baker does with Big Finish, it brings me back to my childhood. So as the curator, it'll bring me back, 5 years. So I'm good with that.
I'm thinking, James, if the Doctor has this unlimited regeneration thing, do you think the Doctor just goes back and one day goes, you know what, I want to revisit this Doctor. I want to look like Tom again. I want to look like David Tennant again. Like you did.
Well, I guess they had that where because they did that episode where 12 remembered that he picked his face from the guy he rescued in David Tennant's run. So I assume the Doctor has a bit of that capability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, he did kind of pick his own face to think about that there. Brian, what else do we got in the news today?
Also out and about, Call of the Wild premiered on February 13th, and amongst the many stars of this movie, along with Harrison Ford, is Karen Gillan, and she's been putting out a number of pictures from on set on both her Twitter, if you go look, and also on her Instagram. Really, really cute looking stuff. It's really great to see her career's taken off in such a major way after she left Doctor Who. Come on, she's done, she's getting that Disney money. She's doing her own productions, and then now she's in Jumanji. Now she's in a film with Harrison freaking Ford, man. Come on. It's just hard to believe, she's come such a long, long way since Doctor Who, and it's really glad to see that.
See, that's a Big Finish episode waiting to happen. Amy Pond and Han Solo get it together by accident. And see how those two fight, get it out there. That would pay full price for that episode as well.
I saw some meme where it was from Call of the Wild was Harrison Ford with the dog, and it says, when the drugs kick out and you realize you're not some space cowboy with a monkey.
Nice.
No, my favorite one of all time is what if the Indiana Jones movies were just what you call it, dreams that Han Solo had while he was frozen in carbonite.
I've heard about that.
But lastly, but certainly, not least, Jodie Whittaker has apparently signed a piece of artwork, it's the standard, Doctor Who poster from her first season, and that's being auctioned off in the name of Dogs Trust over on eBay. So all proceeds of this auction go to charity. If you want to go look it up, it's under Dogs Trust, Doctor Who, Jodie Whittaker, right there on eBay. Can't miss it. Right now, so far, it's like at £51. So if this is something you'd be interested in, you want to help charity out, there you go. That's all I got for the Who Knew News.
Well, thank you, Dr. Freedom. Thank you for the Who Knew News. We're going to go ahead and jump in right now to do the haunting of Villa Diodati. This is going to be something that's going to haunt me trying to do and say it during this episode there. James, I know you're jumping at the bit and you have to leave a little bit early, so I'm going to start with you. 1 to 10 TARDISes, 1 being horrible, 10 being awesome. How many TARDISes would you give The Haunting of Villa Diodati?
Well, I have to say, of all the episodes so far this season, being as shaky as the season has been in some points, I would have to give this a 10.
Wow. Okay. We're giving it a perfect score there. Awesome.
Best episode of the series, or the season, I should say.
Gotcha. Hold that thought. Mark, what do you rate The Haunting?
I am right there with him, but I'm giving it a 9 because I did have one little quibble.
Gotcha there.
It's a quibble.
Brian, how would you rate this episode?
I tied it at a 9 myself. Very good episode. Very thought-provoking, very chilling and suspenseful. So,
all right, gentlemen, do not look at the camera for just a moment there, because I'm going to give our people on the YouTube channel my rating as far as what I rated. I hope they can read it there fine. And there you go, everybody on the YouTube channel. Okay, gentlemen, go ahead and take a look again. And I will be revealing my number at the end of the episode. Well, guys, you guys put out the high numbers there. So, Mark, since you were the first one to give it a 9, which is the lowest number on this rating, please tell me what you liked about it and what was the one thing that they missed.
Well, my one little quibble from keeping it perfect was there were a couple throwaway gags that kind of fell a little flat. Just for me. But I thought otherwise it was well done, return to form, classic Who, classic monster, really well played. And then given the Cyberman emotions again, but yet he was still, I love that he was still a bad guy. And at the end, and that pushed it way back up for me. And then my absolute favorite, of course, was Graham's little encounters with the ghosts, and that they didn't just explain them away as perception filter or something. And then and Jodie's line right back to him, which is the ghosts don't exist. He's like, well, unless they do. And that was fantastic. That was very classic Who. I was so pleased. It brought me joy all the way across. Like I said, my only quibble is that I felt the whole meshing of the rooms and stuff had been done a little bit too much. The eschering of the rooms. So, and we're about there, I think. So, I think that was my only thing. It was like a little too much Clue there. Scooby-Doo. It was a little too on the nose, but other than that, fantastic.
I'm shouting.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting quote Clue all day long now that you mentioned it. So there, you know what? You mentioned Escher House. I was saying Winchester House. The stairs that just like go nowhere, and you can't go anywhere or do anything. You're stuck in the same room, which I thought was a really nice trick there. Speaking of trick, because remember, I don't know how to segue out of this show. So anyway, we're going to be returning back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show and continue our review of The Haunting of Villa Diodati. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tune in, and become part of the legend.
It's Germany, 1938. Charlotte is a 15-year-old girl living in the Jewish quarter. George lives in the city proper, and enamored by Charlotte's charm and grace when she wanders into his cobbler shop, George decides right then and there that he is going to marry her. Follow along as this unlikely couple struggles to stay one step ahead of the Gestapo and their dramatic escape from Nazi Germany. Good things always happen in springtime, from author Joanne Fisher, on Amazon.com today.
Alien invaders enslave Earth,
Unleashing hunters into the ruin wastes.
One young survivor struggles to elude their monsters, clinging to hope.
When he's stolen off the planet by a sarcastic Starship AI, they pit their uneasy alliance against a treacherous galaxy.
Explore a whole new verse of barbarism and betrayal.
Wonder and adventure.
In the Scion series
by Michael J. Allen.
Beginning with Book 1, Scion Conquered Earth.
Available in print, ebook, and audio on Amazon.com.
And folks, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basel. We're here with Mr. Brian Burress. We're here with Mark Muncy. We're here with James I don't never say it right. I apologize, James, so much there.
No worries.
Enstall, right?
Yeah.
I think you told me once, just like remember Enstall, but put an E in front of it or something like.
Exactly.
Please check out Geek to Me Radio with James. It's an adventure, audio adventure, just like ours. As far as your ears will hear a lot of good stuff, and you got to check him out on the Twitter feed because he's got a picture of Christopher Eccleston and himself. Speaking of which, I didn't mention that I was going to mention this during the Who Knew News, and I didn't get a chance. Here is a part of the news. If you're here in Central Florida, he's going to be here at MegaCon Orlando during that weekend. They just announced that Billy Piper and Christopher Eccleston will both be there. We are still in talks with Fan Expo as far as the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS arriving there, but I can hear we have some really good news coming up there. But when they finally release all the information, I will let you know on the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS on all of our social media, as well as here on the radio show. So we are totally excited. I was wondering if he was going to come down here because he was at Galley 1 and like, oh, he's over here and he's over here, over here. Is he going to make his way to MegaCon? I would be shocked if MegaCon passes him up, and surely enough, he is here, and with Billy Piper. So that's going to be an awesome, awesome, awesome weekend there. Mark, you rated, no, we already started with Mark. So Brian, you also rated it a 9. So where did all the cylinders hit, and where did it miss the mark?
Okay, the atmosphere on this episode was perfect. So chilling, so dark, so suspenseful, and then it just really, really built up. There's just some parts that just went a bit slow for me, but did eventually pay off in major, major ways, such as the fact that one of my friends brought up, and this is very good, the fact that, you didn't see the main villain until a little ways into the episode, which I thought was timed perfectly. That, you just, boom, it wasn't there from the beginning, now they got to deal with it. All of a sudden, bam, there's this guy. And the way that the Cyberman acted in this episode, it kind of reminded me back a little bit of the David Banks era, where the Cyberman could get ticked off. They could really get mad at you, infuriated, and all that. There's emotionless my eye. This guy didn't have the inhibitor chip, and he was just downright. Oh man, he oozed villain. Yes. I'm not kidding. He was just incredible. Plus, another major, major up point was the speech they did give Jodie Whittaker in this episode, where she lays down the law on him about cause and effect and all that. And would you sacrifice this one person who could influence the thoughts of thousands and thousands of people later down the line? But at the same time, if you do that, it could change history and none of you going to exist. And the fact that, the team structure not being as flat as it is, where she's the one who usually ends up there at the top of the mountain, have them make the final decision and all that. I thought it was brilliantly delivered, executed, and it just knocked my, really took my breath away. I have to say this much, in these 2 seasons of Doctor Who, I got to admit, never more was Jodie the Doctor than at that moment, where it just really shone for me. So that's where I really got to say it really hit, was at that point.
Gotcha. James, you gave it a 10. And I would ask you what was wrong with the episode, but you gave it a 10. So, were there any things that did come up that you like, this could have been better? Because there have been some times when I've rated something a 10, a perfect 10, but I said, okay, there's 1 or 2 things that could have been, but it didn't change the spirit of the number that I would give in that episode there. James, was there any challenges at all, or did you think this was just a perfect episode from beginning to end?
If I had to dig deep, I could probably get really picky and find something that stood out. But I watched it once, so they were supposed to show a video at Gallifrey 1, but they didn't have the video, so instead, all couple thousand of us in the room watched this episode together. And I think when you're watching it in a huge group who's cheering at the title screen, that kind of adds to your excitement to begin with. But there were points when this episode was playing, you could literally hear a pin drop in that ballroom because everyone was just glued to the set. Right. That obviously probably skewed my enhancement a little bit, the fact that I was kind of with that crowd energy, like seeing a movie in a theater. But overall, I love Jodie as the Doctor. I love the TARDIS team. All the actors are on point. The writing has been very, very hit or miss for me. More so, I feel, this season than even last season. So the fact that I even watched it again with my wife when I got home this week. We watched it, I think, last night again. And I was riveted. The fact that, as Brian said, she was the Doctor, because there's been a lot of talk. And again, all the people I've talked to, I'm not sure if I saw it in one of the Traveling TARDIS chat groups or if it was someone I talked to at Gallifrey, but they've said that she's kind of like going with the flow. There's not been a standout, I am the doctor, you are the companions moment until this episode, which really, and the fact that she just took charge, she was in command, had that doctor moment where she was not sure what she was doing, but she was going to do it anyway. I think this is Jodie at her best, the cast at their best, the writing at its best, and that Cyberman was thrillingly, horrifically good. The actor who played it, the way the makeup was done, the setting, the historical aspect. I'm a huge fan of Mary Shelley, so for me, I can't think of anything that detracts from a perfect score.
I think the only challenges that I have, and I honestly have not heard the Mary Shelley Eighth Doctor audios, but I mean, and I was asking friends about this and saying, and I think Mark, we talked earlier there. Does that kind of just push away those stories, or because now we're back to the question: is Big Finish canon? Is it not canon? Is it just some alternate universe? Because Night of the Doctor had proven that they were a married couple, but now we're kind of just pushing that series away. So if anybody can just jump on it, because I haven't heard the full stories. I know about the Mary Shelley stories and the Silver Turk and all those episodes, but I mean, how does this work? Or doesn't? Do we just say, you know what, we disavow it, this is another thing, this is another universe? Mark, what do you think about that?
Honestly, it's been a few years since I've listened to those. And I think we were discussing earlier that I think they were kind of like the Unbound series because they didn't really fit the rest of Paul McGann's, because these were Eighth Doctor adventures. It was a 3-parter. He takes Mary Shelley on some adventures, and including one with a Cyberman, and right. which could inspire something. I can't imagine. I honestly think that anytime they do something like that, I think it takes away a little bit from the writer, being the creative geniuses that they are. I mean, the whole infamous night where it was actually like several nights where they decide to write the short stories and all that. That cause all this. Certainly one of the biggest science fiction books of all time comes from this, if not one of the first. It's not, I know it's the first of English literature, but it's definitely, there's only a few that predate it. So I think that kind of steals from it too. But as for Big Finish, get back to that. Sorry, train was going there. I think that those episodes aren't really considered canon anyway. Right. So, in my opinion, I think those were kind of done as like a side story. They weren't Unbound, but I don't think they were part of the standard Paul McGann series.
Because then Mary is going to go, wait a minute, Doctor, I've been with you already. You look a little different now.
A little different. Same here. No.
And I think one of the episodes takes place on the night that this is supposed to take place, right?
Right. That's when he picks her up, I think, is on this night, and that's. And there's some illness and some other stuff. It's been so long since I listened to that. I'm going to have to defer to the other experts.
As far as the history of Mary Shelley and everything that took place, do you think the characterizations of the people, the historical elements, do you think the writer really gave them good, or do you think they were just more characteristic?
I loved her speech, Dr. Mystical was saying, Brian was saying that whole speech about, the poet influencing is just as important as the scientist who invented this one thing. I love, as a writer, that made my heart sing. It was really nice to hear some creative props. And then of course at the end, the poem that he reads is about the year without a summer, where they thought the world was ending. And he writes this poem about the universe ending, and that's why she was the universe. It's basically, he's not writing about the Doctor, he's writing about the universe ending, because they thought it was. They really did. And of course we know now that it was a volcano that erupted and caused ash clouds over the which kept it from ever having a summer that year. So, but so yeah, I think they got the characters right. I think they got the histories right. I was very pleased with the setting and the tension, like we all said. I think this was spot on, and I don't think it hurts the Big Finish any. Those are still fun reads and listens.
Yeah. So. Brian, all she was going over when, the little comedic stance where she goes, Don't mention Frankenstein. Don't mention Frankenstein. I hearken back to John Cleese and Baldy Towers. Don't mention the war. Don't mention the war. I was like, I love that little device. But then she would kind of, okay, how about we write something? I'm just like, what? Or what if we get back to writing stuff there? What did you think of the comedic timing of everything that was going on in that episode? There was there something that was like, because I think, did one of you two go, okay, that's a little quirky, that's a little weird, or some of the humor did? I think Mark, you said that the humor was a little bit off, right?
I think there was a few that just kind of fell a little short. I kept hoping for a Frankenstein reference, but I was good, or somebody singing "Putting on the Ritz." But no, that would have been great. But no, I thought it was well done. I thought it was really good. And poor baby William, I thought they did well with that too, because that's William doesn't live much longer.
Gotcha.
So
we're about to get the commercial break. Brian, I want your take on that there. And yeah, I will probably be quoting Young Frankenstein the whole episode now.
Yeah, there were bits that hit, a few things that didn't. But like I said, the best running gag in this whole thing, and you don't realize it at the end, because originally you're being scared the heck out of it is when Graham's wandering around the mansion and you keep seeing those figures. Then they show up and they he suddenly, oh look, there's food, and all he said then he goes. And then at the end, he's going on about, the creepy looking one with the little kid who keeps staring at you. And then, the doctor drops that line about, you don't think really are ghosts, are there? He goes, unless there are. It's like that right there. I was just rolling laughing when she dropped that line on the look on his face. That part was just perfect. It really paid off.
Gotcha there. James, I got a question for you, but I want you to think about this before we come from the break there. The little time jump about with this the one thing that you see, I had to watch it twice because it kind of threw me off of there, because I'm not the brightest person in the bunch of I'm not the brightest person in there, but Ashad and his relationship with Percy and that connection, that it kind of threw me off a little bit out there. I just couldn't understand the connection at the moment there. Maybe I didn't understand something, but maybe you can fill me in there. So we're going to go for a commercial break, and I'll let you think about that. When we return to the legend of the traveling TARDIS, stay logged on, stay tuned in, and continue to become part of the legend.
Now on Amazon.com, iCoin from author Jeremy Mosby. It's an alternate reality, and the leader of the planet iCoin is none other than Benjamin Franklin. When corrupt officials threaten not only iCoin but the Earth as well, an unlikely chosen one, Jeremy, must face dark foes to save the Earth and iCoin alike. Author Jeremy Mosby takes readers on a superhero's adventure through this compelling and imaginative alternate universe. Get iCoin on Amazon.com today.
Jackie Sonnenberg's My Soul to Keep is a ghost story rooted in the realities of actual cults. When 13-year-old Sky Monroe arrives at her new boarding school, all she can think about is death and connecting with the afterlife. Soon she discovers her school's spirituality group, the Guardians of Light, and they have a secret. They can speak with the dead, and the organization is a cult. But this isn't Sky's only problem. The campus house where Sky resides is haunted, and even the ghosts have an agenda. They intend on getting the souls they want. Filled with mystery and intrigue plucked straight from the headlines, author Jackie Sonnenberg's research and attention to detail give this ghost story an even more eerie atmosphere. Find My Soul to Keep on Amazon.com today.
And welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show, folks. My name's Christian Basel. I am the host of this show, and I'm here with my teammates. I have Brian Burress from Dr. Freedom. Please check him out on the YouTube channel. I have Mark Muncy and his Erie, Florida series. Please check him out when you get a chance out there. And James Enstall with Geek to Me Radio. Check him out. As far as check all the guys out here, and I'm meaning their social media, not just necessarily check the guys out themselves. Yeah, Mark, you laugh there. James, I'm sorry. This is probably where it got confusing on me, because all of a sudden Percy had a superpower. And maybe I just didn't understand it. Maybe, like I said, I'm not the brightest guy in the world, but all of a sudden, I guess it was a device that he had this ability now that he could not be seen by the other people in the room because he had this stuff inside of the cyber stuff and
The
all that.
barium.
Yeah, and then he had the ability to like keep the other Cybermen out. I think that was one of the reasons why I wouldn't say it was a negative thing. It was just something that just confused me. And I actually had to watch the story again and say, I've never seen that happen before in the Cyberman episode. Maybe I'm like I said, maybe I missed something or something like that. But what would you think about that connection between Ashad and Percy in that?
It didn't give me much pause at all. I just kind of rolled with
Okay.
it. So maybe I'm not bright enough to pick up on the fact that you did. Like there was that disconnect. For me, it's just he went walking. He had the Siberium inside him, and I think just kind of like it started to meld with the doctor at the end. It immediately, he kind of, as soon as he picked it up, he understood what to do with it. He understood how to put up the perception filter. He just, I think because of the perception filter, he couldn't interact with the others, and he that was my understanding anyways, that he was kind of somewhat being overwritten by another mind inside of his own.
So kind of he was adopting to a superpower that was absorbing him, like that black stuff in Spider-Man 3 or whatever.
Right, symbiote, sure, yeah, exactly.
Symbiote, yeah. Okay. Like I said,
That
I'm
was
not
my
that
take.
bright. I'm sure somebody out there is going like, Christian, you're an idiot. Why couldn't you pick up on that? I just never seen it in another episode. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time I think Cyberium, I can't even say it, was mentioned in a Doctor Who episode, because we had Dalekanium in the Daleks of Manhattan. I don't even think we've ever mentioned the material that the Daleks are made of. Now we've got Cyberium. And it was just something I was getting used to, and it was just like, okay, well, this happened. But like you said, you just ran with it. I was kind of sitting there going like, that's really odd. Okay, well, I guess that happened. Well, I guess we came from two different perspectives there. You guys rated it so well. I'm feeling bad that my score happens to be lower, but it's not bad. I just want to say it wasn't bad. I'm just there were some little grievances, and I think I'm getting some answers there. What do you think about the companions being used? I think it's classic Graham that he had to look for the bathroom, and I've never seen that in an episode where a companion goes, "I gotta pee."
I love that it was a chamber pot too, and he kept
exactly.
past it.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I thought this was the best use of the large companion group that they've done yet with the fam. They gave them their own little storylines, but they didn't separate them as much. I mean, because they kind of had this, this tension, the locked house, the locked rooms, but yet they're all still able to talk to each other, and it wasn't, oh, we're all going to solve this separately and then get together at the end. It was still, they were working together, and I thought this was the first time I think that they've actually worked them all well and balanced them pretty well. I don't think anybody got kind of sidelined like they've been doing. Usually when they do these, they split them up and somebody's story kind of falls to the wayside. But this one, I think they balanced them all pretty well. And by keeping them together, it made it good.
I think one of the challenges I've had is with the writers. With the writer series that they had with Chibnall, especially from last season to this season, they're more drama writers. And I think you can tell that, especially with the pauses in each episode where they kind of just hit more of the drama and then it comes back up. I mentioned this on the last episode where it just seems like everything stops for the dramatic, because I feel like I'm on a roller coaster and then somebody slams on the brakes. And then we're just slowly coming in to the station, then we're back up and running again. This episode, I didn't feel any breaks. I felt from beginning to end that this roller coaster was going and going and going. And there may have been little subtleties, but I meant there were little subtle things that slowed down things, but not nearly enough where it was a brake slam. Best example was trying to think back here. Series 12. I meant like Praxis, where we were looking at the relationship between the two guys, and it just seemed like the story just hit a break. And every once in a while, when Graham was talking to the one guy, to the police cop, and then the two of them would be together, it just felt like it slowed things down. And there's a couple of episodes that I can get that, but like Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror, I felt like the roller coaster kept going and going and going. I was enjoying the ride, even though there were slowdowns. But Brian, am I just losing my mind, or did you get that same feeling for certain episodes?
Well, that's one of the reasons I gave this one a 9. Is I noticed about the same thing. There was just some parts that ran a bit slow for me. Where 1 second you're building up the suspense, and then like the dance scene to me. Like I said, one thing I agree with one of my panel members was, I think they could have done without that scene. Really,
yes.
it took away from the whole thing. It's like, they're going to gossip and all that. Yeah, come on, it's a given, because we've heard about these particular historical figures and the reputation that surrounds them. Yes, but to me, the whole dancing just kind of took the thing away. It was an unnecessary pause at that point. So I can agree with you on that point there. But as far as the whole series go, yeah, there have been times where you hit the pause at the wrong time. You're trying to build suspense, or you're trying to build this sense of, say drama or something, and then boom, you stop and you go to something completely else, and it takes away from the whole moment. It does happen, unfortunately, quite a bit.
See, I'm going to disagree. I think the dancing was the best way to do the exposition for those that don't know the story, for the kids and people who don't know Shelley, and that they weren't really the Shelleys at this point, and that they were both married to other people, and Shelley was waiting for his wife to commit suicide, and all these other terrible things were going on, and that this was basically just an opium fueled adult party for about 4 days, and that's really what caused all this madness. Like I said, I thought the dance was a cute way to do it, to catch the audience up. And I'm glad that they did it quick, because I agree. They've been doing exposition and characters development should be done, but not in your last third of your episode. Your third act's got to be the roller coaster and get to the end. And, that's when, you have 5 minutes to disarm the bomb, that's kind of thing. You don't have your denouement right there. So.
James, what do you think of my take on the way that the series has been going as far as the writing is concerned, and the way that I think Villa Diodati has kind of changed my mind as far as the way that Series 12 has been approached, as far as my roller coaster analogy there?
Yeah, I would agree. Like I said, the writing has been, for me, the weak point of the series. The episodes haven't felt like, and not that there needs to be a through line per se, but there hasn't been a connective tissue yet, other than the characters. I really liked what they did in this episode, or I should say the last episode, with Yaz, giving her a little bit of a backstory. I like seeing it, and it's great that they want to do one companion focus a little bit in the drama while the others are kind of doing their thing, like they did with that last episode. This one, as Brian alluded to, it was great, perfect ensemble piece where everyone had business to do and no one else's business took away from the whole. So I think, this even more so than last season, I think the has gotten weaker this season over last season. And I do agree with your point, Chris, in that it's the writing is what's been wonky for me this entire season, with some episodes being really nice, other ones missing the mark completely. But this one, for me, again, this episode is the best. I would put it up against Kerblam as only the other great episode of the 13th Doctor series so far.
I think this is one of the better episodes. I got to say, so, as far as the writing's concerned, because it actually, I think, took the best of what Doctor Who represents. Great story, historical figures, meshed it together with something that is very, very, thought-provoking, had some twists to it, like the Winchester House rooms that, you couldn't get out of, and really had tested everybody. And going on what you're saying, James, one of the biggest fears is, like, with the Fifth Doctor companions, they always put Turlough in the corner because they didn't know what to do with him after his story ran. But this episode, and this is one of my biggest gripes about having those three characters, this episode changed it. I mean, I loved it and it not only changed it, but it wasn't just they were walking off and doing their own thing. They were walking off doing their own thing that strengthened their characters. Graham, yes, he went to the bathroom. He's looking for some place to pee. Ryan is, just doing his thing. My favorite scene was, yeah, it's a hand, definitely a hand. Like, that scene out there. And Yaz being what I think is being intuitive, being her cop-like self, looking and investigating what's next. So not only was it a build-up of using the three characters, but using their characterization to make sense and actually wrap it up in a great story and plot that supported their characterization there. Got a couple minutes left, according to Mark, so we're going to be hitting a little bit of a hard break. When we return, we're going to do the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS spoiler-free poll, see how everybody rated it, and when we return, we're going to be wrapping up our review of The Haunting of Vito Diodati.
Oh, so close.
Villa Diodati.
Villa Las Vegas. Oh,
Vegas, thank you. When we return, we'll be back. Please stay logged on. Please stay tuned in and continue to become part of the legend. Get out of here.
Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish.
Santa, if there's one thing I want for Christmas more than anything, it's someone to spend Christmas with. Someone who really wants me to be there.
Head to the mountains of East Tennessee with romance author Jenna Hart for a Christmas writer's workshop. Since her mother passed after a long illness, Jenna has had one wish. She doesn't want to spend Christmas alone. Meeting Niccolo Maldini, cover model and actor, could make more than Jenna's Christmas wish come true. Unless Ember, Niccolo's ex-girlfriend, does something crazy to stop them from being together. It's a mountain Christmas romance you won't want to miss in Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish. Now on Amazon.com.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the wrap-up portion of the show for The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS as we're reviewing The Haunting of Villa Diodati. Thank God.
Yay!
We got it. Nailed it. Killed it. Got it. Thank you.
Cut print.
There we go. Now I don't have to say it for the rest of the end of the show, or maybe never again there. My name is Christian Basel. I'm here with Dr. Freedom himself, Brian Burress. I'm here with the Erie, Florida series with author Mark Muncy, and I'm here with Geek to Me Radio, James Enstall.
Perfect.
I didn't want to get the title of the show wrong. Look there. And now we are going to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS radio show poll, and I do apologize. I did have a late start, so we didn't have too many people show up. But 61 votes, I considered that. The question was, did you like or did you not like the Haunting of Villa Diodati? So, starting with you, Brian, what do you think was the percentage of the 61 people who voted? And I apologize. I didn't put the poll out until this yesterday, so that's why we have a little turnout there.
Conservative figure, I'll say 75% liked it.
75% liked it. Got it. Mark, what do you think was the rating?
There's always got to be one contrarian, so I'm going to say 90%.
90%. James, what do you think the percentage-wise of these 61 people who were stood enough to vote?
$1, Bob. I'll say, I'm going to split the difference. I'm going to call it 83% liked it.
83%. Well, if we were playing Prices Right, James, you would be the closest. If we're doing closest to the pin, we're going to go with Mark. 89% liked it out of 61 people and 11% there. And I think for all the same reasons that we enjoyed the episode. It was fast-paced. It was the best, I think, of the season of this series so far. The writer who actually I can't seem to find much information of the writer, let alone everybody who's written for the episodes. Not too much information, but I think it was Maxine. Let me get her name. It was Maxine
Alderton, I believe.
Alderton, yes, Maxine Alderton. I don't know any information about her. but I want her to write another episode just like this. I am very excited for Maxine. She did an awesome job. I think the direction was great as far as hitting their cues and everything. Here's the thing, Brian, you liked the speech that Jodie gave. I had some I don't know why, but I didn't. Not that it was a bad speech, but I think she should have cut it shorter, because then I felt like she was just berating Ryan. And I know that Ryan, in the beginning, when he started off with it, I remember I can't remember the episode, but he was picking up the gun and he was making the episode like it was a game. It was like shooting all the alien bad guys. And I think there was a thing where the doctor was kind of like, I don't deal with guns and such like that. I kind of thought, I think she could have made that speech a little less. And that's why I'm saying I'm going to say and let people know that I actually rated this episode an 8. Now, it wasn't a bad episode. I loved it. I just had some couple of issues, which I've shown some grievances here, and that's why I brought all my friends on here. There's sometimes I just, I miss the marker. I watch it once or twice, and I totally miss it. But I just, for some reason, I did see the space god. She was coming out, but I felt like Ryan didn't deserve that much, criticism. I think she could have said it in just 2 minutes.
Well, I think the main reason why is that, as we've seen, at the beginning of the series, something major league happened. And I think it's been affecting her mood all along. And this has just been building up, building up, and building up. And I think that's why she was so harsh. But also the fact that he was just blatantly ready to sacrifice Percy Shelley, to save the future. Yeah, sure, it does make sense, the classic, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few argument that we've heard, in Star Trek. But at the same time, sometimes the needs of the one outweigh the needs of the many.
Mm-hmm.
You have to think of the fact that, as she said, this is a person who's writing, in poetry and all that, would go on to influence thousands and thousands and thousands of people in the, in the world in the future, which leads kind of like what the Seventh Doctor said: when you throw when you throw a ripple into the pond, it causes waves, and those waves can lead to, major consequences further down the line. But it just seemed to me that the way Ryan just said it, it was like without any thought. Maybe we should just sacrifice him, yada, 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 to save billions of lives in the future. It was just offhand, and I think that's why she went off on him so harshly, was the fact he was just so willing to do this offhand without really thinking about the consequences of it.
That was another thing I really enjoyed, was the Doctor dynamic was so strong in this, because she is a Time Lord, and she's got the big picture to, as far as Ryan and even Graham and Yaz, this guy's already been dead to them for 200 plus years. What does it matter if they can make it out of here? And I think that was well, again, it may have been somewhat harsh, I guess, from a certain perspective. It was a very definitive Doctor companion dynamic.
Oh, I got that she wanted to make her point across, and she made it. I just think she might have overdone it. And the weird part about it is that Ryan and the team being as in the TARDIS for so long, and supposedly having visited, all these worlds, all these universes, you would think Ryan would probably know that. Maybe not. Maybe he hasn't been in the TARDIS that long. I don't know.
We also have to look at it. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to say we have to look at it from the perspective that Ryan's also, a very, very young person. And sometimes, being younger, you don't see things the same way. With age comes wisdom and experience and all that. Then you begin to see the big picture. And I think Ryan's at that age where he's a bit, impulsive and all that. And he thought, okay, here's the instant quick fix, but didn't see the real, consequences of the aftermath of that decision.
So you think he's the Adric of the team?
Oh no! Don't do that to him. Don't make the badge for mathematical excellence yet. No.
I was thinking that this was. I'll be honest. I felt like this was the writer trying to say, "Hey, she needs a Pandorica speech. She needs an epic speech. She needs the Zygon speech. Let's see what we can do." And I think the writer was just having fun with it and making her powerful. And I think, like I said, that was very much I think this episode goes back for me. I would say I have to go almost back to Don't Blink for an episode that was as well put together as this. So
here's something interesting. I was just I did a little research on the characters, on the historical figures that were mentioned, and I thought this was interesting. Lord Byron's legitimate daughter is Ada Lovelace.
Yes.
Didn't we see her before somewhere?
I believe so.
Do you think there might be a connection? That somebody kind of thought this through just a little bit, and that might be the chain? I don't know. When I was stumbling around, it's like, oh, she was there. Okay.
She did mention it back in Spyfall Part 2 that she was, descended from Lord Byron. So, that should have been ringing, I hope, as an afterthought in everybody's mind. And they mentioned Lord Byron being in this episode.
I missed it, but then again, I've already admitted to being dumb, so it's fine.
There are no dumb people, just dumb questions. Whatever that South Park line is there. So I guess the question is, does anybody have any predictions on who our Cyberman is? Ashad.
I don't know. I love that he liked to kill people. I thought that was cool. The question is that because he was made into a Cyberman and didn't have the emotional, chip put in, or was it, so that it drove him mad, or was he that way before and he's just, he's still just a jerk? That's my question. It's like, that's always the, when, we go with these paranormal investigators and some of these ghosts are mean and some of these ghosts are nice. And they say, oh, the mean ones are demonic. I'm like, what if the guy was just a jerk when he was alive? That doesn't mean demonic, it's, he was just a jerk, so that's, so we that kind of hit close to me there. I was like, what if this Cyberman was just, he was a war guy and he liked to kill things,
I think we got a good insight into Ashad when you hit that scene where you think Mary Shelley's talking him down, and she this is the guy who spared my child, and then he just wings it around on her and said, I spared your child because he was weak and all that, and then went on to describe what he did to his own kids because they joined the resistance. That to me really gave a really, really bright insight into just how much of a jerk this guy is. Yeah. So I think, whoever he is, he was bitter long before he got cyberized.
Oh, yeah. James, I kind of actually, I'm glad you mentioned that part because I was hearkening back to the scene with Capaldi's doctor when he's talking to the two masters, and then the John Sims master walks up and goes, see this face? This is the face who didn't listen to a single word you said. And that's what I kind of hearkened when he was pulling that off. And it was hard to ascertain whether he was using emotion to kind of, oh yeah, I get no, kind of wrapped it up there. But that take on that, what did you feel when that Cyberman just turned it on her big time?
I was surprised. I honestly thought she was talking him down. He had that little bit of emotion still left in him because he wasn't a completely cold, complete Cyberman yet. So when he turned, again, just blew me away. Not only the actor chops to do that scene, to work that scene as well as he did.
Yeah.
But again, the writing on this one, obviously, that's a perfect amalgam of the writing and the acting blending together into that perfect scene where I was thrown. I actually got chills. Just showed you just how cold and maniacal this person was and locked in on their single focus. And I slit my own children's throats. That's how I felt. Absolutely brilliant scene, which only to me enhanced the episode and just makes me Sunday can't get here quick enough. I need to see what happens next.
Two Sundays.
I also think that the doctor had that little bit of bad feelings about what happened to Bill. And I think that also added to her speech, like why I'm not letting another person die to the Cybermen, and all that. I think that was another little thing that just piece of the puzzle there that I think we forgot about. And I think that came back in that. So
has anybody been paying? I don't know if you guys saw the Doctor Who Facebook page, or I think that they did on their Twitter too, but they posted what I call the fatalities of the Cybermen. That included Bill. That included Adric, and I think the line from Jodie's doctor is saying, I'm not going to lose this again. So, Danny Pink was another victim of the Cybermen, And I don't know. I do want two Sundays to show up now. I do want to see how this all ends, and I'm hoping I'm hoping that they got this all packaged together, because so far with this story of the Lone Cyberman, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying it big time, and I'm hoping they also resolved what this, the Joe Martin doctor is in this universe, or why she's there. I have no idea, but I really enjoyed the show. I rated it an 8. It wasn't bad. It was really good. And I think if this is the type of episode, and I think I gave another episode this, which one was it? It was Nikola Tesla's Night of Terror. I mean, if we see episodes like that, I think you're going to see a really great resurgence when Series 13 hits. I want to see more episodes like those. I mean, put your Orphan 55s away. Put your, put all those episodes out there that are just really, really good, that just carry me into a wonderful story. And if you're going to have the social aspect of it, go ahead, but just tell me a story first, and then let me wonder about, how great the message is. Let me figure it out for myself. I think that's the definition of the best sci-fi to me. Well, guys, we are coming to the end of the episode. I want to thank again Brian Burress, Dr. Freedom. Please check him on the YouTube channel. Go ahead and check out our friends James Enstall at Geek to Me Radio. He's on Facebook. He's on Twitter. Please check him out on iHeartRadio. You said that right? As well as us. Like us both and subscribe to us both. And, of course, author Mark Muncy. Check out his Eerie, Florida series. You got to check it out, especially if you love hauntings and you live in Florida. You've got to get his books out there. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. When we return, we'll be back next week to talk about the ascension of the Cybermen and the final episode of the series, The Timeless Children. When we return to the Legend Traveling TARDIS, please stay logged on, please stay tuned in, and always become part of the legend.